LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two. Now listen. The age-old question, are we there yet, has been the bane of parents everywhere for decades, maybe even centuries. Back in Iowa in the 1970s, my folks would load up our wood veneer paneled station wagon with my brother, sister, and me, as well as suitcases, our green igloo cooler filled with Shasta Pop and Oscar Mayer bologna sandwiches made with Hy-Vee white bread. We'd soon head off for a road trip or summer vacation that would have been planned and saved for. We would head off to points north, my cousins in Minneapolis, or further north, ILO Dreams Lakeside Resort, or as my auntie called it, ILO Bad Dreams, after an unfortunate incident where my 5-year-old cousin Rachel wandered off for the day. Or we'd head west to Grandma and Grandpa's house in Sioux City or Uncle Newt's Double Wide in Rapid City. No matter which way we were heading, like clockwork, 20 minutes into the trip, one or all of us kids would decide that was enough with the driving and start asking our folks, "Are we there yet?" My father, who was a traveling salesman, had already had it with the children before we even hit the road. You see, he was an expert car packer. It came from practice because he loaded and unloaded samples from his car daily as he traveled his territory from Iowa to Nebraska. And Dad's packing skills were legendary. He was like the Yoda of car packing. My father would have just enough spots left for the rest of our stuff, and my sister and I would show up and drive him crazy by placing my little red suitcase or my sister's bean doll collection in the exact spots that Dad had kept open for the CB radio or the Tommee Tippee wee-wee jug. This was a plastic container with a drawing of a little yellow-haired kid peeing into his own wee-wee jug and traveled with us on road trips to avoid unnecessary stops. The wee-wee jug was helpful for my brother and me, but not so helpful for my sister. So if she had to go, it meant getting off schedule with a stop at Stuckey's Chicken, which seemed to have more locations than Starbucks does today. It wasn't just during vacations that we kids used the "are we there yet" material, or as I like to call it, not living in the moment. At Olmsted Elementary School, we'd be so excited for school to start every single fall. We'd have our brand new Crayola crayon box with a built-in sharpener, our new multicolored all-synthetic Brady Bunch clothes our folks had purchased for us at Sears. But it seems that as soon as the school year started, we were immediately counting down the days until next summer vacation, a full year away. And think about it, when you're a kid, a year is a long time in the great scheme of things. If you're in 5th grade, it's 1/10 of your life. It's no wonder that "are we there yet" kind of became a mantra for getting through life. Thankfully, we had activities to break up the school year. Mrs. Davis was our glamorous music teacher who had poofy blonde hair pulled straight back, wore a lot of artistically curated scarves, and had frosty pink lipstick. My best friend Tony and I adored her. I think Mrs. Davis really liked us because she encouraged us to create live performances that captivated our fellow students and helped us break up our seemingly endless school year. One such performance during Mrs. Davis's class was doing a full-on choreographed version of the hit song Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. It's kind of lame that we didn't even sing along to Cher's original version. We did the Vicki Lawrence cover, which was hideous. We knew Vicki from our beloved Carol Burnett show, and on the cover of her album that had her one hit, The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, Vicki wore a red and white gingham-checked shirt. For our performance, Tony and I had matching blue and white gingham-checked shirts. We looked like rejects from Hee Haw. We were in the 5th grade and had no idea that the song was about a 16-year-old gypsy girl who gets knocked up by some 21-year-old visitor. No, not a clue. We naively stood in front of our class, earnestly singing, "3 months later I'm a guy in trouble and I haven't seen him for a while." Our favorite part of the performance was just as the chorus was about to begin. During this music hook, we twirled around backwards in perfect sync. Each picked up a tambourine and jumped into the chorus. As we sang and pounded the tambourines on our hips, the kids just ate it up. Mrs. Davis was very supportive, but I can only imagine what she went home and told her husband every night. Oh my God, wait till you hear what they did today. Make me a highball, honey. And during our next school year, we even topped that performance. To break up the 6th grade, our last year before the dreaded horror that was Urbandale Junior High, Tony and I went all out. Ray Stevens was like a 1970s Weird Al Yankovic and wrote comedy songs. He'd had a huge hit with a song called The Streak. One of the songs on that album was called Bridget the Midget. This song was about this gal named Bridget who was queen of the blues as well as being a great tap dancer, and she happened to be a midget. She gets introduced by a male announcer, and during her number, some crazed audience member chases her around yelling, "I dig it, I really dig it." And then she brings on her 3 backup singers, Strawberry and the Shortcakes. Tony and I put together Bridget the Midget for our final performance in Mrs. Davis's music class. Tony played Bridget in full drag with a long wig and tap shoes. The announcer, Ray Stevens on the record, was played by our friend Julie. Our friend Scott played the crazy groupie in the audience, and as Bridget sang, "Strawberry and the Shortcakes, here they come," the classroom door flew open, and our friends Lisa and Janice and me came bursting in wearing wigs, skirts, and wedgie high heels, singing "Shooby-Doo-Bah-Wah-Wah." And we ended this all with a huge finale, and the kids loved it. I think Mrs. Davis's jaw just hung open, but think about it. We were decades ahead of the curve on gender-blind casting. Because we were a hit, we were chosen to perform Bridget the Midget for the entire school that year in the lunchroom. We brought our wigs, tap shoes, and wedgie high heels out for one last encore performance. When Julie was changing after the show, she realized she had misplaced her bra and had to improvise. The next day, we found Julie's bra stretched over a radiator in the school hallway. True, each year we couldn't wait until summer vacation, aka, are we there yet? But we sure did find some fun ways to break the year up and live in the moment. And we certainly gave Mrs. Davis stories for the rest of her life. Let's face it, even as adults, aren't we constantly asking, are we there yet? I guess it's just kind of human nature to always be thinking about what lies ahead. When am I going to get that raise? When am I going to book that big national commercial? When is it my turn to retire? And only then, after those things happen, then I can settle down and enjoy the day-to-day, and then I'll be perfectly happy. The weird thing is that when those things finally happen, so often we say, okay, well, that's nice, but what's next? This week is a milestone. 1 solid year of being quarantined by the pandemic, and boy, has that thrown the whole "are we there yet" thing out the window. It took a while to get used to the fact that there was no live theater, no plane tickets, no ability to make any plans whatsoever, and there was no end in sight. When I first started working remotely, I set up a routine because I thought, well, I needed some structure. But after a couple months, I started feeling like Bill Murray on Groundhog Day. So I started shaking things up, moving the laptop to the dining room, or the study, or to the patio. Ooh, daring. Or I started being really daring and not shaving for a couple of days, or not showering until late in the day, if at all. I'm not proud of it, but some days I look like Bernie Sanders, without the mittens. A couple of weeks ago, we were in line at Dodger Stadium for Bill to receive his second COVID vaccination shot. Yes, Bill could have gone himself, but I was being nosy and wanted to see what it was like. And it was very organized. They processed thousands of people per hour. The cars snaked around in queues like we were at Disneyland waiting to get on Pirates of the Caribbean. The only thing missing was an overpriced churro cart. I'll be honest that at the end of that 2.5-hour process, I could have used that Tommee Tippee wee-wee jug. You can still buy them on eBay, just so you know. As Bill and I sat there waiting for his shot, I suddenly realized that, oh my God, there may be light at the end of this tunnel. This will be over sometime. In other words, are we there yet? Yep, we almost are. And I admit, I felt a bit of a panic that we're going to have to go back to the way things were before. This certainly was no barrel of laughs being cooped up for a year, but it wasn't all bad. Because today was like tomorrow and like yesterday, I couldn't plan anything. I just had to figure it out, and live for today. Instead of sitting in stress-filled commutes or multitasking, I've been using that time to do yoga or walk or work on my podcasts or my fermented food cooking skills. During this pandemic, it's all been about the day-to-day journey. Time has flown. It took a while to really get it and to calm down, and some days I still have to work on it. But like the Billy Joel song, This Is the Time says, this is the time to remember, 'cause it will not last forever. These are the days to hold on to, 'cause we won't, although we'll want to. A good thing about the pandemic is that I have really learned a new answer to that age-old question, are we there yet? And that answer would be yes, because we are here now. And that, my friends, is enough. LOL take two. LOL take two. LOL take two.